Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy, sounds like he's in his early to mid 30s, and he's going to share his story about events that happened about 10 years ago, a little more than 10 years ago when he was in college. You're going to see in this story that he had an apartment, and his buddy was renting it out with him, and a situation came along that women came into their lives, mysteriously, and instead of sticking to what guys should do, bros before you know what, this guy took the opposite path where he chose the HOES before bros. And you're going to see the impact it had on their friendship and all that. And the guy telling the story, and I don't want to reveal too much, this guy choosing the HOES before the bros put this guy in a bad situation with his landlord, their apartment, and could potentially been kicked out. It's a little interesting story there. And ultimately this guy had to make a choice, which I agree with, and you'll see where I'm coming from there. But it's definitely a good one, again, to show you guys that sometimes with the bros, you have to handle things a certain way. And also, always have the bros become before the HOES. Gotta speak in code here because YouTube is pretty picky. But before I get into this story, guys, which has some good learning, good lessons here, I'm going to quick read an email I got from a subscriber who's thanking me for my work. This is from a woman and a mother who watches my work and also with her son to help him, not make the mistakes a lot of young guys make in this world. So it's pretty cool. It's cool when I hear from female subscribers saying what I do is a good thing, but also that this case, she actually shows my work to her son, her teenage son, to help him out. So it's pretty good one to hear. Real quick. She says, "Hi SSM. I'm another one of the minority of traditional women that listen. I've been listening to you since August of 2020, and I want to say thank you for doing what you do." Well, thank you for watching me for 2+ years. "I listen to you and another channel. Sometimes I add my comment on your YT channel, so men know there is a minority of women who think the same way and agree." Well, we'll take you all one at a time that agree with our line of thinking here. "I especially like to share your videos and opinions with my 15-year-old son and tell him this is his future and I want him to be prepared. Old-fashioned ideas of monogamy and commitment are hard to find. My son and I have a lot of fun making comments on our own during your videos because we agree with you. We've especially enjoyed your recent foodie chicks." Yes, that's a good one to watch. When your son starts dating, when he gets to be old enough to have alcohol, remember, one drink on that first date. Otherwise, he could be out a lot of money on some girl who doesn't care about him. "You may or may not be aware, but there is a test called the sexist test. And it's a test to see if the person is sexist against women." I wasn't aware of this, so this is good. "The questionnaire doesn't ask if you are a man or a woman. It just asks you questions and you select one of their choices. I took this many years ago in college for shits and giggles, and my result cracked me up. I was 90% sexist against women, and I am a woman. I have a few female friends because I can't understand women myself. I hate backstabbing and gossip." Well, as I'm sure you're well aware, that's pretty much how it goes, especially the gossip. You want something private? Don't tell anybody. Girls cannot keep secrets. I've had girlfriends that they'll be out with their girls, and they come back, and they're sworn to secrecy, but they have to tell me. Because you got to tell somebody, so I get to hear that. And I got to the point, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to know. It's not my business. I don't want to know. I don't need this freaking drama. Get to that point. "I grew up as a tomboy and prefer sports to fashion. Our favorite series is the Military Special Forces team. My fiance died in 2020 from cancer, and he was ex-Navy." I'm sorry to hear that. "So the women's betrayal was painful to listen to." She's referring to a story I did on my other channel. They did what about the Special Forces guys that got even with their cheating wives because all their wives were cheating on them. A lot of you guys saw that, and it was very, very good. "They're idiots. I wish I could buy those guys all a drink. I'm also from Texas. They deserve to be congratulated on their path forward and to honor them for their service of protecting the country. My least favorite one was the dad who wrote about his daughter and her spicy videos." Oh, I know that one. "He definitely should have manned up sooner and put his foot down with her. I was happy to hear when he said that his wife could go live with the daughter if she wanted to fight him so much. His wife should have backed him, not the daughter. The daughter made poor choices and needs to take responsibility and ownership for her own actions." Well, I know the story you're talking about, the stories, and that hasn't happened yet, and it probably won't. "Sorry for rambling. That's okay, you're a girl. I know what you're all like. I appreciate you do what you do, and I love to hear the videos on your SSM and They Did What channel. Look forward to listening and sharing many more of them. Well, thank you for your email, and thank you for your support, and I'm really happy to hear you share your work and these videos with your son. And hopefully it will help him out, and one, not make them bad choices a lot of guys make with the gals, and two, to help your son to focus on his purpose. And instead of screwing around and goofing around all the time, he's 16 or 15, so he can have a little fun. I understand that. But he's also looking at the big picture in terms of life and going on the right path. I hope he has a part-time job. I hope he's saving money. I hope that you help him with, because I know the dad isn't in the picture, you help him get his own bank account, his own, understand how to balance things, have him be responsible, have him take care of his own gas bills and insurance bills and stuff like that. Because when he turns 16, of course, and other things, and really focus on his studies and get an idea what he wants to do, and hang out with the right people. And if he does those things, he's going to be all right. And of course, exercise and staying healthy. So, thanks for the email, Mom, and I definitely wish you and your son well. Okay, guys, on to the main story. I know it was a little bit longer than I expected, but I like to add these little quick emails in on occasion to show you that the type of content that I talk about here and a lot of you guys like is starting to spread one by one. So, on to the story. The guy says, "Hi, SSM. I figured this one might be an interesting one for your channel. I learned a lot from this experience, and I figured there will be some guys out there who could learn from this as well. This experience is from well over a decade ago when I was in college. I was renting an apartment, and one of my best friends at the time moved in partway through my stay at the place to help me lower the cost of rent. He was a serial dater at the time, and at the time that honestly amazed me at how easily he could pick up girls, not that he was capable of keeping them due to his own failings. Well, he could probably pick them up because the guy was indifferent, didn't care, or he just was maybe naturally smooth, or I don't know, maybe he had a six-pack. Who the hell knows? At the time, he was not dating anyone, and this is a huge factor over the events to come. It was the middle of the summer, the power went out one day, and being in a basement apartment, it was too dark to wait inside. So we hung out in the hallway. Turns out the neighbor had cousins over. One was recently homeless with a child, and the other was her very pretty cousin, who was very close to her. Being the social guy that my best friend was, he chatted up both of them, and I joined in. We got along quite well and learned about their situation. Eventually, after hanging out all day, they end up staying the night at our place. Here we go. This is how things start going downhill. I was okay with one night. I didn't expect it would become a stressful experience that would extend beyond that. Well, here's an example where one has to take a look at things, assess the situation, and put their foot down right away and nip things in the bud. That's key in life, guys. After I got back from work the next day, I had expected the 3 newcomers to be on their way, but they were still there. My friend worked to convince me to let them stay. I told him it needed to be temporary, and I eventually came to regret saying that. I knew at the time he was someone that easily emotionally attached himself to people. Well, that is not a good thing. I tell you guys, you can't become attached. The greatest suffering people have in life is because of attachments, because everything is going to come and go in your life. And attachments will cause so much suffering. Right then and there, that guy should have said no. One night, that's it. This is not my problem. You have to just have boundaries, guys, and enforce them. Otherwise, the old no good deed goes unpunished. This is what we're going to have here. The lease at our apartment allowed for guests, but only for a limited time. He knew that. I knew that. I made sure that our new guests knew that as well. I think that was around 2 weeks. The whole time I went through this experience, I could sense that the mother understood her limited time situation very well, and I'm infinitely grateful that her kid was super well behaved as well. So you're going to let these strangers stay in your apartment that you don't know, a mother and a little infant and her pretty cousin that your friend likes, all because your friend likes that pretty girl. It's not your problem. If this is a homeless mother, then she needs to get in contact with social services because that infant can't be out in the freaking street. She's not capable of taking care of that child. That's what needs to be done here. And your buddy, remember, this was your apartment and he came to live with you, okay? So this is more your place than his. No, he wants to see that friend, a cousin of hers, and fine, but they're not staying with you. But it is what it is. My friend was on vacation from work, so he spent practically all his time with the girls and the kid while I went to my part-time job regularly. He got very attached to the pretty cousin, and I could tell he cared a lot about the kid. However, I knew he was thinking with the brain in his pants. He put in a massive effort to search for a place for them to live, and I kept getting the sense that he wanted to move in with them along with me. I got this feeling because I was dragged along to an apartment viewing one day with them. You didn't get dragged along. You allowed that to happen. Didn't physically drag you along. Guys, in life, you got to have boundaries. You got to stand your ground. And if you don't want to do something, you don't do it. Nobody does something because they don't want to. Okay, this guy, obviously, he was trying to be nice, and no good deed goes unpunished. It shouldn't have come to this. As the 2-week line got closer, I was starting to get very, very stressed as no headway on finding their next place was being made, and the steady degrading state of the apartment and the guest rule of the lease started weighing down on me. I could tell that the pretty cousin was using my friend to protect the mother, and I hated it. I was sympathetic to the homeless mother's situation, but I was approaching my limits. The whole time, my friend was trying to convince me to be more patient and let them stay longer. Yeah, it would be one thing if he was doing this because he's generally a kind person helping someone in need. That's not the case. He's just hot for the cousin, and she knows it, and she's using this guy to use you. This is one big circle of people being used here. If that woman needs help, contact social services, the state. There are resources made available to help with that child because she can't take care of that kid. It's not your problem. And you can't risk getting thrown out of your apartment for breaking the rules of breaking the lease just because your buddy wants to get some ass. Okay? He's putting the hose before the bros, and you don't do that. And your friendship is more important, and you don't want to be kicked out. I had a gut feeling the property manager knew what was going on, and the guest rule in the lease was stressing me out a lot. We eventually crossed the 2-week mark, and I was worried that we'd lose the apartment at any time, and that everyone would lose out at that time. I gave a hard deadline. The mother was all right with it. If anything, she seemed grateful to have had the extended stay, and that she was fortunate enough to have. Well, that's good to hear. The pretty cousin and my best friend that I found later were hooking up were not happy with my deadline at all. Tough freaking shit. That cousin of hers, the pretty one, got free place to stay for a couple weeks, and your buddy got some ass. Him getting some ass is more important than your friendship. The day of the deadline came around, and my best friend confronted me, bargaining with all his might to let them stay, offering that he would leave and continue paying rent if they stayed. I told him that we could get kicked out due to the lease, and he said he didn't care. Smack. What the hell's wrong with this guy? I told him the pretty cousin was using him, and he said he didn't care that she was using him. Smack. I wanted to slap him right there, but I'm a coward, and I also knew he was trained in martial arts, and I wasn't. Yeah, I'd go back in time and smack him, martial arts or not. He then told me it's either they stay or we're not friends anymore. Smack. I told him, you can leave too. Good for you, bro. Good for you for standing your ground, saying enough is enough. Right there. He's known these chicks for a couple weeks, and just for some easy ass, he's going to end your friendship for that. He's not a friend. And this is an example where you got to cut him loose at some point. That day, all of them left. The mother expressed her thanks for letting me stay so long. The pretty cousin was clearly ticked at me, but she couldn't do anything about it. A week later, my now ex-friend removed his furniture, and I was left with an apartment that had flies for the rest of my stay. I found out the property manager did in fact know about my situation at the apartment, and I was grateful that he was lenient about the whole ordeal. A year later, my ex-friend texted me apologizing and asking to be friends again. I told him that I forgave him, but I was not interested in being friends. I thought he would push back a little bit, but he surprised me and accepted it quite well. So there you go, guys. That is what happens, or can happen, when guys put the HOES before the bros. It's always bros before. This guy, he didn't care. They were buddies, and he just met these girls just for some easy ass. Look what he did. But you know what? This guy here, although I disagree with him allowing them to stay that long and not standing his ground, eventually he did, which was good. And he made it clear, that's it, we're done, okay? And pretty much they're going. And when his buddy pushed back, he said, you saw how that went down. And there's a point, guys, you got to cut people out of your life that are taking advantage of you, which clearly was going on here. And obviously through their actions demonstrate they don't care a whole lot about your friendship. Okay, at that point then, you got to cut him loose, okay? And he wasn't vicious about it or nasty. And then a year later, the guy reached out because it obviously didn't work out with that girl. And the guy said, hey, I forgive you, but we're not being friends. End of story. And there's a point you got to do that. And so he handled it well at the end. So again, guys, yet another story proving what can happen and how easily a pretty girl comes in this situation and can screw up a friendship. Don't let that happen, guys. Your bros are much more important than easy gals that can come and go just like that. Okay, easily replaceable. But a good buddy isn't. But also, there's a point when you got to cut them loose if you are being taken advantage of, and their actions demonstrate that. Anyway, quick one, guys. Quick lesson there. Always good. There's always something to learn from these stories these guys write in about their past, and I appreciate you guys doing that. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me think about this. Let this guy know what you think about it. And guys, you got a good story like to share, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it. I definitely will. I'm getting tons of great material, and I'm just up to my eyeballs and stuff, so I'm trying to pick the best ones and have variety here. And I want to have the same thing every single time. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.